Hello everyone, my name is Alchan Rampasad. I am the author of the book titled The Great Gospel Puzzle. The topic of this video is based upon Crucifixion Analysis, Part 1. It is without a doubt that the characters of Simon and Titus were molded into a partnership. This was the formation of an entity based upon Jesus, with both partners identified as Jesus. The crucifixion was based upon literal events which occurred during a 3-day Roman triumph in Rome. The highlights on the occasion was the crucifixion of Simon and the resurrecting of Titus as the Jewish Messiah on the 3rd day. The crucifixion was the dismantling of the 3-day Roman triumph into many parts and identified with separate titles. The crucifixion was in Rome and is listed under 13 titles. Title 1, Rome. Simon and the rebels arrived in Rome before the triumph. He and the 11 disciples stayed in the emperor palace with Titus. Matthew 10:1, quote, "And when he had called unto him his 12 disciples," unquote, it was Titus who appointed the 12 disciples from among the Jewish rebels. Luke 9:2, quote, "And sent them to preach the kingdom of God," unquote. Titus sent the rebels to preach in Rome. The kingdom of God was Rome. Title 2, Titus' triumph. This triumph was held in honor of General Titus. It was to honor him for his military victory over the Jewish rebels in Jerusalem. The triumph was referred to as the Passover in the Gospels. In 71 CE, 3 days of triumph was held to honor Titus. It was named Titus' triumph. It was Titus giving instructions to the rebels. Title 3, Day 1 Triumph. On the first day, Simon found the temple in Rome. John 2:15, quote, "He drove them all out of the temple," unquote. This was the temple of Jupiter Capitolinus in Rome. Simon chased the Romans out of the temple. It was from inside of this temple the construction of the scriptures became known. Luke 4:16 to 17, quote, "He stood up to read the scriptures and was handed the book of the prophet Isaiah. He unrolled the scrolls and found the place where it is written," unquote. Simon was performing the acts of a Messiah from a script prepared by Titus. Simon was acting. Luke 4:18, quote, "Then Simon announced that he was the Messiah that Isaiah spoke of," unquote. Luke 4:20, quote, "Then he rolled up the scroll and gave it back to the attendant and sat down," unquote. The verses confirm the recording of a stage show. It was from Simon's performances. The scriptures evolved. It was at this point in the Gospels Simon was notified by Titus that he had 3 days to live. Luke 13:32 to 33. Meaning that his preaching ministry was 3 days. In carrying out his duties, Simon was treated as a VIP. Mark 14:15, quote, "And he will show you a large room furnished and prepared," unquote. Simon was staying at the emperor palace. In the evening, Titus joined the rebels for dinner. Title 4, Day 2 Triumph. On Day 2, Titus took the 12 rebels known as the 12 disciples up into a mountain. History points to Mount Alban in Rome, which is located outside of Rome. Yesterday, which was day 1 of the triumph, Titus had passed a prepared script over to Simon. That was in the temple of Jupiter Capitolinus. Today, he is on Mount Alban. It was there Simon read the Sermon on the Mount and the Lord's Prayer. All indications are that it was a prepared script done by the Romans and passed on to Simon. The two script was designed to promote the emperor as God and the rebels as slaves. After the trip to Mount Alban, Titus and the 12 rebels returned to the emperor palace located on the Palatine Hill. At evening, Titus joined the 12 rebels for the Lord's Supper or Last Supper. John 13:2, quote, "And supper being ended, the devil having now put into the heart of Judas Iscariot, Simon's son, to betraying him," unquote. Now it was known that Judas Iscariot was Simon Peter's son. John 13:5, quote, After that, he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet. Unquote. Titus was performing a purification ritual upon the rebels. The rebels will be sacrificed on the third day. John 13:18, quote, I know whom I have chosen, but that the scriptures may be fulfilled. Unquote. Titus continued to remind the rebels that the Gospels were written about them. It was from their performances. Title 5, Day 3, Simon arrest. This was the third and last day of Titus' trial. This is the day for the execution of Simon Peter and his disciples. 1 Thessalonians 5:2, quote, For yourself know perfectly that the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night. Unquote. Titus came very early in the morning at cock-crowing time to gather Simon Peter and the rebels. Acts 12:6-8, quote, Peter was sleeping between two soldiers fastened with double chains, while guards kept watch at the main entrance to the prison. Unquote. The verse indicates that Simon Peter was tied up with chains on the night before the final trial. Quote, Then suddenly an angel of the Lord stood there, unquote, referring to Titus as an angel of the Lord. Quote, Put on your belt and sandals, unquote. Belt refers to the linen cloth. Quote, Peter followed him, unquote. Simon Peter followed Titus wearing the linen cloth. This event refers to the naked young man following Jesus. Title 6, Day 3, the naked young man, Mark 14:51, quote, And then following him a certain young man, having a linen cloth cast about his body, and the young man laid hold of him, unquote. In this context, the young man in the linen cloth following Titus was Simon. The certain young man Titus laid hold of Simon, dressed in a linen cloth. Simon was following Titus. Title 7, Day 3, sentenced to death. Matthew 26:65, quote, Then the high priest rent his clothes, saying he had spoken blasphemy, unquote. Matthew 26:66, quote, He is guilty of death, unquote. The high priest was the emperor. He was Vespasian. It was Vespasian who sentenced Simon to death, not Pontius Pilate. Title 8, Day 3, Simon took up the cross. Luke 23:26, quote, And as they led him away, they laid hold upon one Simon, and on him they laid the cross, that he might bear it after Jesus, unquote. Throughout the Gospels, it was Simon who took up the cross. At no time did Jesus bear the cross. Quote, that he might bear it after Jesus, unquote. Simon took up the cross to bear it after Titus. It was Titus leading Simon to be crucified. Luke 23:32, quote, And there were also two other criminals led with him to be put to death.